everyone, and welcome back to Girl Dad. I'm Abigail Frechette.
And I'm Peter Frechette.
And if you clicked on this episode, that means you saw the title of it, and you know that we are talking about the Epstein class. So I have something I wrote that I'm gonna read as kind of a bit of a warning and like just at the start of this. Um, This is going to be a heavy episode. While we won't be discussing specifics of disturbing crimes, there will be references to pedophilia, sex trafficking, and other topics that can be challenging to talk about and hear. We completely understand if you want to skip this episode. We also want to acknowledge that at the center of this are survivors and victims, and they not only deserve justice, but to be acknowledged, supported, listened to, and treated with humanity. So like I said, we're not going to talk about specifics, but more kind of like the surrounding implications of all these things. This is something that has kind of rocked my worldview in a bad way, but in a positive way also. But before we do that, I have something else heavy that we're going to talk about. Um,
Before you get into that,
yeah, so
because what you're going to talk about is our time for sports time,
yeah,
and I'd like to say something about
yeah.
a time for sports time that um, I've been listening to a lot of things over the past week, and mine is hopefully a little more positive than anything else that we're going to talk about today.
Mhm.
But it may not appear so when I start talking about it.
Okay.
And it's about the men's hockey team,
Yeah,
and obviously tremendous USA women's hockey was a tremendous victory.
yeah,
And the USA men's hockey team was a great victory.
yeah.
And the only thing I want to say about it is that um, there's they've been getting slammed a lot for what happened after the game,
Mhm.
and I think maybe they could be slammed a little,
Yeah.
but I think the people that should be slammed are the people who tried to um, latch
In-
on to their glory
Yeah.
as opposed to them themselves. These guys work all their lives to play hockey. Yeah, I know they're pros and I know they get paid to do this, but they've been going to rinks for 10 hours a day for their lives, getting up at 5:30 to go skate. And they've been doing this and they became together as a team and they
Hmm.
deserve to celebrate. And I don't think it mattered who went into that locker room after the game.
Yeah.
They were going to celebrate with them. So I just wanted
Mhm.
to say that I want a little less.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think the idea that any of them even know who Cash Patel is they're not necessarily, I mean, who knows, but they're not necessarily political junkies the way some of us are. And I think the average person doesn't know who Cash Patel is and doesn't know that he's disgusting. And that he used taxpayer like the I think the focus should be on him being gross and using them.
yes. Yeah.
I do think I've heard that, you know, given the way that the president spoke to these men about the women's team, and, it's rumored that that's why the women's team did not attend last evening's State of the Union, which I think is perfectly fair on their part to not want to do that. I do think like it's unfortunate that they're put in this position where they have to like be used in this way. And then that means they feel some kind of way. And it's like not necessarily, but also it could mean that. And it's like it's hard because I think you're right. They don't deserve to be as slammed as much as they're being slammed, but I think it's okay for people to feel a little weird about it too.
Yeah. But I also,
But the focus
the
should be
only
on the people using them rather than their response to being used, I guess.
the negative focus. And I also think the comments that I've seen from the men's team about the women's team have been incredibly positive.
Right.
And they talked about the fact that they went back after winning their game and the women's team was there and they kind of celebrated
Yeah,
together in
of
the
course.
cafeteria in Italy. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. And yes, Cash
Well, I
Patel's
think
just come
it's,
back. So
yeah, and I think it's actually something that is going to be even more challenging when America is hosting the Olympics while Donald Trump is still president in a couple years. And I think, like, well, yeah, hopefully not. But, I think it is something where it's like, because what are they going to do? Are they not going to compete because the president and his administration sucks? Like that's not really fair to these athletes who have been doing this their whole life and have wanted to represent their version of USA. And yeah, I think it's just like it's disgusting the way they're used and then kind of like yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, and that's something that an old saying in sports is that you and it's more of a fan thing is that you root for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. And
Right.
for these guys, they were playing for the letters on the front of the jersey,
Mhm.
not for any particular person or administration that
Yeah.
was in the back of the jersey, if you will. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that, and I
Yeah.
know I didn't want to. I don't want to hold us up because you got another very
Yeah.
disgusting topic to discuss.
Well, I actually think there's certain connections with what you were just talking about with team versus player or individual things that does lead into this. Before we get into our main topic, we're going to be discussing a racist incident that happened in soccer, and I think deserves major attention, not just because it's a racist incident, but because of the World Cup happening this year and all that kind of stuff around soccer and like the rise of soccer in our country. So I think it's important to acknowledge that racism in I'm going to switch to calling it football now because that's how I've written this, but racism in football still is alive and well. In the Champions League, which is the European club competition. So this includes teams that play in the Premier League and other European country specific leagues. It's like the best of those competitions all play each other kind of simultaneously. And it's run by UEFA, which is a part of FIFA at large. So they're like the European conglomerate of FIFA. So in the first leg game, which this competition, you play one game against a team at their stadium and then play one game against that team at your stadium. So you play two games against the same team. So in the first leg game on the 17th between Real Madrid and Benfica, which was happening at Benfica Stadium, which I guess I should note is in Portugal because probably people don't know that. The game was stopped for around 10 minutes when Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. told the referee that Benfica's Prestiani racially abused him. So the kind of protocol by FIFA is that the when a player indicates this to a referee or a referee hears this, the referee crosses their arms, and that's like this new feature of football that really hasn't been seen a lot because of how new it is. And the game pauses for the referee to figure out what happened if it wasn't them who heard it. So when Vinicius Jr. did this, the game stops, and we, as viewers at home, get replays of Prestiani covering his mouth with his shirt, so like holding it up to his mouth, and he clearly says something to Vinicius Jr. He's kind of following him around the pitch, saying this to him, and you just immediately see Vinicius Jr.'s face be like, "Whoa!" And he just like runs right to the referee and starts pointing at Prestiani. But we don't
He
know
was
what he.
following him around the pitch.
Yeah, so basically, I should say Vinicius Jr. just scored a goal and had a little bit of a celebration, which he was given a yellow card for. Everybody's like, that shouldn't have happened because the celebration was not, he just did a little dance. And people were like, that's not yellow card worthy, but whatever. And then as they're coming back to like the halfway line to re kick off the game after the goal, Cristiani's kind of like following him around with his shirt over his mouth, screaming at him. And because his shirt is covering his mouth, lip readers and VAR, no one can figure out what he has said. It has come out from Vinicius Jr.'s teammate, Kylian Mbappe, who I should note is also, it's not that he's not one to speak out on these things, but he's usually quite a composed and quiet player in respects to these things. Like people were surprised with his response. But after the match, he claimed to have heard Prestiani use the term mono in reference to Vinicius Jr., which is Spanish for monkey, which is obviously a, and I mean, I think people know that calling a black person a monkey is a racially abusive term, but I
Huh.
also think I should note that in football in particular, this has been one of the like biggest racially abusive things. I mean, we used to have fans throwing bananas on the field. During this game, fans of Benfica were doing monkey symbol like gestures at Vinicius Jr. So it's like this is a common insult
Slur.
abuse towards black football players. I think the reason I really wanted to talk about this, obviously, what happened on the field is really bad. But I kind of think that the system around this is what I've found really horrifying in a way because so after the match, like I said, Kylian Mbappe came out, said this is what Prestiani said, and you know, Vinicius Jr. did a post on Instagram calling him a coward for covering his mouth like that. But on the other side, Benfica has not only stood strongly behind their player, which I completely understand, like wanting to do that in the initial thing where you don't have kind of evidence and being like, we don't know what happened, but for now, like, there's nothing bad happening to Prestiani and our like summation of events. But they doubled down on Prestiani and literally used the argument that our club is not racist because one of our club legends was black. It's like the I can't be racist, my best friend's black whole thing. And further beyond that, the manager, Jose Marino, who is known for taunting celebrations as a manager, not a player. He does knee slides as a manager. That's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He was immensely hypocritical by trying to victim blame Vinny, saying he incited the incident with his celebration of his goal. Like I said, this celebration was a little salsa dancing kind of thing. That, like, it was not nearly as big as it could have been. It was an amazing goal. Like, that's the other thing. It's like, and he's trying to say this is your fault that you were racially abused because you celebrated a goal. As of right now, in the second leg, so the next time these two clubs play, Prestiani is not allowed to play for Benfica because they're currently doing an investigation. but that's kind of all that's been done as of now. I did hear, I believe in Brazil, they have made the Prestiani rule, which is now that you cannot put your shirt over your mouth to hide what you're saying, because it's cowardly. You can insult, I mean, and I should say, there's like insulting in football is a thing, trash talking in football is a thing, and that's fine. Why do you have to make it racial? Why?
Right,
Why?
right.
And
Yeah.
there's also, it's been kind of rumored that Prestiani has claimed that he didn't use a racial term, but used a homophobic term. And it's like, that's your defense, which also is like against the Champions League rules. Like, what is, you're so
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
If you're interested in kind of seeing some responses to what has happened in the footballing world, CBS Sports, which is like the only still good leg of CBS, their Golazo Champions League panel, which is Kate Scott, Thierry Henry, Jamie Carragher, and Micah Richardson. Incredible response in real time as their like post-match interviews, but also they did a really, really good response the next day. Another ex-player, current manager of Bayern Munich, Vincent Kompany, specifically spoke about Mourinho's behavior after the match and how that was a mistake. So I would definitely check out his interview. I think it's like everything he says is just perfect. But I think this is important to acknowledge because of the World Cup coming here and how this country has a pretty intense hatred, like racism problem.
Well, I mean, the whole monkey thing comes right from the top.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
um,
So I think it's like, I just feel it's important to, you know, point this out and hope that UEFA and FIFA at large indicate that not only is the player in this situation wrong, but the club did some wrongdoing as well. And I think that's important too, to like talk about with the original incident. Vinicius Jr. isn't calling Benfica racist. He's calling what Prestiani did racial abuse. And I
yeah,
think it's really disturbing that then Benfica comes out and is like, we're not racist. And it's like, that's not, nobody said
nobody's,
that, brother. And now
yeah,
I'm curious, are you
yeah,
racist? Like,
yeah,
and that
exactly.
can be, that's a whole other like conversation, but like it does, it's just like, really? Like, no, but you're play, and I will say I saw this incredible clip, which I don't know where this man is now. I hope that he is alive and okay and well. I'm sure he's alive, but I hope he's okay and well. When so they're in Benfica's stadium and Benfica fans are freaking out when the referee does the racial abuse symbol, and one black Benfica supporter is just lone standing and clapping for what's happening. And that's brave because you don't know what the
Mm,
people around you are like.
yeah,
But I did want to mention that clip because I think it's like that's the response you should have, is it's this tribalism around football can be really dangerous because it allows you to support these people that even in like a normal otherwise situation you wouldn't support. And I think like that's important to acknowledge too as all a part of this. But yeah, that's kind of all I have
it's
on that.
well, it's interesting because I was going to,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't going to, but when you brought this up as the sports time thing, I was looking it up, and we could do a whole episode on racism in sports
Oh
and
my God, yeah.
incidents, and maybe
We could
we
do a
will.
whole episode on the way Vinicius Jr. has been treated his whole career. I
But
mean,
I'm talking about going all the way back to
oh yeah.
Negro leagues and Jackie
Yeah.
Robinson and that kind of thing. So, but we
A hundred
won't.
percent.
Not today
Not
because
today.
we got some other uplifting topics to discuss.
Okay.
Can we just
Um,
skip the current events?
yeah, we're not doing a not breaking news because this is kind of a major just not breaking news in a way.
Well, yeah, that's true. This whole thing is not breaking
Um,
news or not being allowed to be breaking news in some
exactly.
cases.
Exactly.
Um,
So the first thing I want to say is I want to just acknowledge something that I think is important, and again because of like the specificity of what's being released and all that stuff isn't fully being acknowledged, but America has a pretty intense history of sex trafficking and it's rooted in slavery. I've seen a lot of videos about kind of how very attractive black girls were sold to men at really high prices. It was a category in markets. Um, and there's also some further indication of them purposely doing this to have babies, to have more slaves, which is disturbing. But I think it's important to acknowledge that Jeffrey Epstein filled a role, but this isn't a new thing to the elites in our country. Um,
I want to just before we get any further with
yeah.
this, just people know you, have heard you, and just um, I I can sense that this is going to be a very emotional episode,
Yeah.
and so hang with us, and and
Um,
if I have to edit, I will.
yeah, I mean, I think like the reason I feel comfortable doing this is because of you in a lot of ways. I think like you're a really good, oh shit. Like you are a really good support system for a lot of this stuff, and it's the fact that you are a man is also kind of it's weird because it's like an added support because we're talking about for the most part evil men. So to have you as a dad is like helpful. I mean it's beyond helpful, but in this particular circumstance. Okay. Um so this is the part where we're going to talk about kind of very personal feelings for me. Um so through this I have really been re-examining my generation's childhood and socialization. Being a gender studies major and someone who's like not the biggest fan of capitalism, I think there was always like this indication to me that my childhood and stuff was, and like the way I am is a lot of the time in relation to sexism and capitalism. But with everything that's coming out, I think the for lack of a better term, kind of conspiracy theory here to me, and the connection here to me is that these elite, this elite class, this Epstein class, who at least some of were pedophiles or were okay with pedophiles, they are this kind of top down control of culture and they seep their likes into culture. And to me, it's been like this thing where there's always been something else besides sexism and capitalism that has felt like there's something missing in the way I was raised, not by my parents, but by the world. And I can't figure out what it is. And I figured it out. It's that it's pedophilia. It's that, like, I was sexualized as a child, not by anyone in particular, but by the world because these top group of people liked that. And so they controlled what we wore. They controlled like appearance trends. They controlled what went into TV and movies. And that like media was printing sexualization of child stars that I'm watching on the Disney Channel. And like there's so much here. I think it's been disturbing to learn how many of these men that owned stores in malls I went to as a kid were a part of this. I think it's been disturbing to learn how many models were a part of this thing in different capacities. And it's like, I'm looking at them as these standards, and the reason they're standards is because these men put them there. And then if they're the standards and I'm meant to look like them, it's like it's an obsession with youth. It's an obsession with, and it's because they had sex with children. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm saying this in the most like perfect way, but I do just feel like this obsession with youth that women have is because the men at the top had it and put it in everything so that we were sexually appealing to them. Um,
And on the flip side of that is the women who didn't go along with
yeah,
that appearance and follow and wear the clothes that those men would have liked were ridiculed
yeah,
by people
absolutely,
and made to seem lesser than because they were not um, fulfilling the stereotype that
absolutely.
I mean I this is this is interesting to me because I haven't, as usual, I haven't thought about this as much as you have, and but as you're talking, this is what's coming into my mind
Yeah,
is and that's why you see um, attacks on the whole trans community and lesbian community
absolutely,
because they're not fulfilling the model that these elites are looking for.
absolutely. It's like it's just to me, I don't know, it's kind of like in a way we were all groomed by the Epstein class. And of course, I like not literally, but like because of the amount of power and wealth and ownership over culture and the world, they controlled us in certain ways and they groomed us because they could, and that's what they wanted. You know, I think about this with like body hair trends, kind of like the way it's now incredibly popular to not have any body hair. And I feel like that kind of started in the 80s and the 90s. And like that has always felt weird to me. And I think that's always felt weird to a lot of women, but it was the trend. And if you think about it, who doesn't have body hair?
Women,
Children.
children, yeah, you're right.
So it's like you're keeping us children, so we're still like sexually attracted to you, but now it's not illegal because we're technically over the age of 18. Like it is just like really disturbing.
You're making me think of a commercial that I saw when I was growing up that
Yeah.
was prevalent. I still know the theme song for it, and that was for Nair.
Yeah.
And um, do you know what Nair was?
Yeah, Nair still is.
Yeah, yeah. But Nair was an advertisement for short shorts.
Oh,
And,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
who wears short shorts?
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
probably the appeal of that.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like I don't want to say like these kinds of things didn't exist before Epstein because they definitely did. I just think like there was more. counterculture to it before, and before it was based in this sexism and capitalism, right? I think the only reason this worked is because of sexism, capitalism, and on other levels, racism and all these other kind of things. But I think it reached another level for what I would call millennial women, kind of when we were growing up. That was because of how in control pedophiles were of the top, and it just seeped down into our image, self-image of ourselves. And I think that in certain ways, over the past couple weeks of experiencing this coming out and hearing different things, it's actually like brought me out of certain like body image issues I've had because I've been like, oh, that was because they wanted me to look like a child that they wanted to have sex with. And it's like there's something with that that like has reached another level. It's like penetrated my psyche deeper than like sexism and capitalism have been able to. And I think that's an indication that this was something that was happening. I do want to acknowledge there are certainly like other ways these people influence culture for the worse, but this is the one that has affected me most personally, so I feel like able to talk on it that way. But there's discussions about like how they've kind of built the current manosphere and racism, obviously, like a bunch of different things. But I just, that was the one that has affected me personally, so I feel like I was able to speak about it kind of more emotionally. Um, Someone else or something else that I want to talk about is the accountability of this whole situation because I
or
think
lack thereof.
yeah, I think that this is something that has made this really challenging to like cope with. To me, this is a bigger scandal than Watergate was. Um, I think that's not a crazy statement to make by any means. Josh
And it's
Johnson. Oh, sorry.
it's become more so in the last. I mean, we're recording this on Wednesday. In the last
Yeah.
24 hours, it has
Oh,
become
absolutely.
a bigger scandal.
But Josh Johnson, who's a comedian I really like, he works with The Daily Show and stuff like that. He did a bit where he was like, "Have you actually like thought about Watergate recently and compare it to like where we're living now?" They were just like, and we were like, "You gotta go, dude!" Like, and I'm like, "Yeah." And we have like so much more of this. So I do just want to say. There are 9 men in our current administration that prominently feature in the files, including the president. I should acknowledge that just because you're in the files doesn't mean you're like a rapist and a pedophile. But like also, okay. Um,
But if you're in the files and after
yeah,
2005,
yeah,
you're accepting of pedophiles.
absolutely. And we've had so many survivors talk about how this was a known thing. Like, not even if you weren't participating, Epstein had these girls around. It was obvious what was happening, and you were okay with it on a certain level. So it's like, yeah, sure, you didn't personally participate, but like you didn't help anyone. Like you're a bystander, at least. Um, but I think this is something that on a larger scale has happened that we have developed an extreme lack of shame in our society. And I think that's emphasized by Donald Trump, but it's not him alone. We see this with like quote unquote cancel culture among influencers. They don't go away. Like they're still there because there's no shame. So we have very few people who are going to step down, who have stepped down. And it's because they're not embarrassed and they think they can just lie and get through it. And I think that that's like a problem. I've talked about this before, that a problem our country consistently has for me is that we have these scandals happen and then we just kind of put a patch over it. So, like with Watergate, he just stepped down. And then, okay,
And you
that's
pardoned
the
him.
end of it. Like, there was no, how do we prevent something from like this from happening again? We didn't do that because I guess I'm going to assume that the people in power at the time assumed that we would always have a president who would step down if that was the circumstance. But we haven't. And I mean, even Bill Clinton is an example of that. Like, he should have stepped down. Like, I don't care. He's a Democrat. So what? Like, he's gross. He's gross.
Yes.
And he should have stepped down. And like, I feel like this has just been a building thing in our society kind of since Watergate because it's been allowed to be, where you don't have to be embarrassed about these things. There was kind of like a weakness in stepping down almost. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. If that's the way our society is thinking, why don't we have guardrails in place so that it can't be up to the person who did the bad thing, whether they want to take accountability for the bad thing or not?
Yeah. We
Um,
should realize that people in power, uh, in a lot of cases, tend to have a great lack of personal responsibility.
exactly.
And it's like, well, what can I get away with? That
Yeah.
not, I mean, it's happening right now with the Tony Gonzalez from Texas,
Oh, yeah.
who, um, for those who don't know, he's a representative from Texas who had uh, relationship with a woman in his staff on his staff, asked
Yeah.
her for sexual images,
Hmm.
and something was going on between the two of them, and she has since committed suicide, and
Well,
he won't step down. He's he won't even admit to this
no.
very clear transgression.
Yeah.
And it's like, somebody's got to, somebody, I have said this to, maybe not to you, but I have said this to, I know my brother anyway, is somebody needs to just step up and say, you know what? I did this. I'm embarrassed by it and I did it and I should not
Yeah.
have done it. And this is who I did it with. And just, and honestly, because of exactly what you're talking about, if somebody did that or three people did that,
Yeah.
those three people would almost be looked at heroically, even though
Exactly.
even though
They
they
did
are
something bad.
they did something, but at least it would put something out there that we could
Exactly.
start get taking this next step. And maybe I don't know. I'm thinking that, again, for people who don't know, yesterday it came out that there are three files that were not
Yep.
released from the Epstein files that supposedly have Trump in them. It's all from the same witness. There's one that
Yep.
was released, but three that weren't. And I'm wondering if maybe that one that was released wasn't supposed to be, and maybe there's somebody down low who has nothing to do with Epstein, but is seeing things in this country that are wrong, and little things are sneaking out, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they will continue to sneak out,
Well,
but the pressure has to build on the people in power until somebody breaks and says enough is enough.
I mean, that is what's happening in other ways with Cash Patel and Kristi Noem. I mean, we've gotten insights into their bad behavior while being in
But
office.
where are the repercussions for
There
that?
aren't any. It's because
They
they don't have any shame, so this stuff comes out publicly. And I do think this has been something where, compared to his first term, where Donald Trump was quite quick to fire people, he's just letting them go. Like, he's just, yeah, keep doing your thing, abuse your
yeah,
power, whatever. Because
and
it
the
doesn't
Republicans are
now.
not doing anything to
No,
say,
because he realizes now. you guys aren't going to do anything to me. So
Right.
I'm just going to let these friends of mine run amok, take the taxpayers' money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and in a way, I think it's like good because it has dropped his approval rating so much because this is who he is, this is who he's always been. But like, certain people weren't seeing it because he would be, he'd make it go away kind of, and now he's not really making it go away. But this does bring us into kind of the handling of the rollout in general feels purposefully negligent. And it does lead to this idea that this is an overt cover up. I mean, the thing that really got me was when they're talking to Pam Bondi in Congress, and I don't know who the representative or senator was, but he shows this is a victims list. It was sent in by a lawyer saying these are victims that don't want to come forward publicly, but this is a list of them. Not a single one of those women, their names were covered. The title of the document is victims list, and that's not redacted. And right next to that, he has a printout of a like a co-conspirator list essentially. And every photo, every name has a black box over it. It's like, do you really think we're that dumb? Like people are interested in this. This is something that despite your political leaning, people are fascinated by for a variety of reasons. But there are regular individuals who are reading through every page of these documents because of
And
how sincere.
I think that was the reason that they delayed, and
Oh,
then released 3 million
absolutely.
pages at once because they were like,
Absolutely.
oh, nobody's going to go through all of this
But
stuff.
the
There's just too
opposite is
much.
happening. I'm like, I know that there's been some mainstream media coverage of this, but most of the coverage of this is coming from, I've gotten most of my coverage from this from my Bravo podcast that I listen to because she's like, and she kind of led me into some of those personal feelings I was talking about because she's like also a millennial woman. And like, I think this has led to, conspiracies being brought up, but like there's also like she's not doing that. She's talking about this the way like a professional journalist would talk about it.
Mm.
But it is like, no, you were wrong with how much people are invested in this and will
Oh, absolutely.
documents.
Well,
Um,
the NPR broke the story about the three missing
yeah,
interviews, but they got it from a guy who was just doing
exactly.
an individual investigator who was just going through this stuff and came up with it and
Yeah.
put it out there.
He's
And
like,
all of a
have you
sudden
noticed
they
this?
have it, and then MS Now that followed up on it and is
Exactly.
getting deeper into it, and that's how the stuff is getting out.
Exactly.
And is it appearing on Fox News? Who knows? But it
Yeah.
might be.
Um,
Eventually, this stuff has to get out there.
and
And
that's
the thing is that if you listen to much of mainstream media, but
yeah.
if you also listen to and look at polling of people,
Yeah.
the majority of people don't care about the parties that
No.
these conspirators are part of. It's
No.
like you mentioned Bill Clinton. Nobody cares that he's a
We're not trying
Democrat.
to protect him.
No, we're not trying to protect anybody. Nobody should be
Exactly.
protected who's in these files. I mean, there are certain people whose names are in the files. Um, I think Mamdani's mother, his name is in the file because she's a movie producer
Right.
and Epstein went to some party that she was at, and there
Yeah,
was a
but then there was
picture.
a whole big conspiracy that was going around that like Epstein was Mom Dami's dad. Like that's not true. I want to make sure people know that that was the weird TikTok thing that people were doing. And like, no, I mean, I was talking to one of my friends who has family who has lived on the Upper East Side of New York for like their whole lives. They have found aunts, friends in the files because they were just at an event. And a lot of these people, I mean, from what she's told me, these people are in the files from way before he was initially arrested. And yeah, there's absolutely people who are in there who are not part of this elite class, right? But it is like that's not we're not talking about them. Like, we don't need to focus on them. We need to focus on the people who, one, it's being covered up information about,
Or
two,
the
are
people who are in
lying.
there thousands of times or
Yeah,
tens of thousands of times. Those are the
prominently
people.
featured.
Yes.
Or, like, oh God, what's his name? Who's the guy that lied about and was like, oh, I went to his house once and I saw the massage table and I told.
His name is Howard Lutnick,
Yes, thank you.
although some of my favorite podcasters call him Nutlick.
Oh, nice. I like that. Yes, Howard Howard Nutlick, who like overtly lied about his like, why are you lying? Why are you
Yeah,
lying?
and
Not
and
guilty.
and the more people dig into the files, the more his name appears, and the
Yeah,
more involved he was with
exactly.
Epstein from a business standpoint. And
Exactly.
and it's
And he brought his children around this man.
yeah,
He brought his
and
children. Who does that?
right.
I
Oh,
mean, even like the stuff with Bill Gates is gross. Like like I'm so sorry. Why does Bill Gates need Adderall to play bridge? If that is not enough of an indication that we don't need millionaires and billionaires in this world, I don't know what is. Like, who, that's what you're, not only that's what you're spending your money on, that's what you're spending your time on. Like, what the actual hell is that? Like,
I
yeah.
wasn't aware of that one, but okay.
Oh, yeah. The Bill Gates stuff is like,
Well, I'm sure
and
that's
that's
just
stuff that's
scratching the
in the
surface.
emails.
Yeah,
That's not like, oh, someone reported this to the FBI. That's stuff that's in emails
right.
between Epstein and Bill Gates, or these emails that Epstein like wrote to himself, which seems to be like a big thing that he did, was like keeping
To
notes
remember things.
all
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. Um, I do just want to touch again, we've kind of mentioned them, but the way Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, Todd Blanche have handled this is absolutely disgusting. And they are in legal trouble.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously not anytime soon while this administration is in charge, but they have perjured themselves. They have like,
And all that's going to do
it's an overt cover
is
up.
they're just going to keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper
Absolutely.
in an effort to survive. And
Absolutely.
that's why we need somebody to show some courage and come out and talk about what's happening, and or to discover it and have it be picked up by the mainstream media so
Yeah.
that the pressure becomes so great
Yeah.
that um, that that they just won't survive the next Congress. And if you can get to the point where you can impeach them, well, if they get impeached, then they are liable for crimes.
Absolutely. And
So,
I do want to touch on one other thing that I didn't write down and I kind of don't know how to put this totally, but one thing I'm seeing their like defense be a lot of the time is, well, why didn't the previous administration do anything about this? Or what, like, first of all, it's not just the previous administration. It's previous administrations from years and years and years ago that could have
mhm.
done something about this. I also think,
Including the Trump administration from
yeah, the first,
2016 to
exactly.
2020.
exactly. But I'm like Republican, Democrat for
Right.
years could have done
Yeah.
stuff about this.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, I get what they're saying where they're like, why like we're at least giving you something. It's like that's not really the right like I do feel like if like you guys didn't make this kind of a point of your election campaign, we would have kept going on not knowing any of this information. You know what I mean? Like there wouldn't have been this major call on this level to release this information. And now you've just made it worse for yourselves. Not just that you like brought it to people's attention, but now that you're overtly covering it up, like we know it's you.
Yeah.
Like, because if
And
you,
they thought they could keep getting away with it.
yeah,
They
they
thought that, oh
completely
yeah,
thought,
we'll just say it now and nobody's gonna follow up.
yeah,
And somebody followed up.
exactly. Um, and yeah, I don't think it's like good that those other administrations didn't do anything about this, but it also like wasn't probably as pressing an issue because it wasn't something we were like looking at the same way we have been because of Trump's attention that he brought to it.
Hmm.
Um, I do want to also touch on the accountability that's happening abroad. I think this is how we will get certain answers from not like what you're talking about is kind of whistleblowers from our own people, I guess would be the way to put it. I think it's more likely we're going to get whistleblowers or just other governments shining lights on certain things because of the international level of the crimes that were happening, other governments are opening investigations and the Justice Department will have to share information legally. That's like how this works. So I think there's like not only is there kind of accountability being held in other countries with the Andrew formerly known as Prince, but other kind of Peter Mendelsohn, is that how you say his name?
Hmm.
And then, France, Norway is doing some stuff. Like I think that's where we're gonna get kind of some justice from, and also just more information after this kind of these pages that we have now are like gone through, I guess. But yeah, I do just before we wrap up here, I think it's clear the way we've talked about it, and a lot of people are talking about it. This is not a Democrat versus Republican thing. I think unfortunately they're making it one. The Republicans are making it one, and that's bad for them. They shouldn't do that because they're gonna not only do illegal things by doing that, but they look bad. Um, they're gonna lose elections because of it. But this really is the Epstein class of elites versus everybody else. And just because allegedly Jeffrey Epstein is dead, um, doesn't mean his class of elites is dead, right? Like they're still I'm sorry, but I don't have you seen Hillary Clinton's brother? Have you heard about
No.
this?
No.
Okay, not to end this
Don't
on
go
like
off the deep end here.
I know, but I do just want to say everybody Hillary Clinton's brother died 2 weeks before Jeffrey Epstein allegedly died. They look the same. And like, I'm just saying.
Okay. All right.
And
Okay.
like, I don't know. Also, based on things I've read, this man was so obsessed with like eternal life and extending life. Does that person really kill themselves? I don't know.
Oh,
Anyway,
I don't. I, him being alive, I'm not going to go with, but I
okay.
will. But him committing suicide or not committing suicide,
Yeah,
I
you're
will
like that.
be
Okay.
right there with you on that one.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I also think that
I'm just
that's
saying.
one of the big reasons that you're not seeing people come out is they're almost not. It's possible that they're not necessarily worried about the shame that would be involved. They're worried
Oh
about
my
dying.
God. Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
that's why
because
you that's why you
that's
need
that
that's why
French
you need
guy.
that's why you need like 10 people to do it simultaneously
Exactly.
because then you got, okay, you're not going to kill them all. It's not Russia
Yeah.
yet.
Well, um, anyways, back to what I was saying. This is the Epstein class of elites versus everyone else, and we really have to keep talking about it that way, even when Republicans make themselves bad. We have to keep talking about that this is not a Democrats issue. This is not a Republicans issue. This is an elites versus everyone issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I'm sorry if this was like hard to listen to. Um,
You did very
Thank
well.
you for letting me talk about this because I feel like I needed to get a lot of this off my chest. Um, but yeah, do you want to do your smile of the week?
Yes, I will be happy to.
Yeah.
My smile of the week occurred a week ago, last Friday. Which I had my what turned out to be my last JV basketball game of the season.
Oh my
Was not
goodness.
supposed to be, but
Weather?
the last one was supposed to be Tuesday, and
Yeah.
due to the storm, school was canceled on Monday and Tuesday, and so there is no rescheduled date for JV basketball. But so on the last game of the season, it was a game that we had at the Cambridge School of Weston, which is about 15 minutes from here. And because it was just us going and not varsity, and because we have so few people, I drove the Sprinter van with the girls
Oh my
to the
God.
game in in a initial snowstorm that was not the big one, but it
Oh
was
God.
snowing all the way over there and we got there, and I had a moment of panic when the game started, and one of their girls came down and hit a 3 pointer, and I was
Oh
like, "Oh
God.
my god!" And and she made another one in the third quarter to give them a total of 6 points, which is how many points they scored in the game.
Stop, you're kidding.
And we won, I think, 29-6.
Oh my
And
God.
the girls played great and played hard and had fun and were laughing. And the ride back, I had cookies for them, and
Oh.
we had such a fun time. And so that was a nice way to, it turns out, to end out the season.
Yeah.
And we ended up with a 6-6 record, which was pretty good considering we started 0-5.
Yeah.
And so, and actually, it was pretty good that we didn't play the last game because that team we lost to by 25. Um, so that was my big smile of the week was
Mhm.
the Dana Hall JV girls basketball team winning their last game of the season.
Very nice. Very nice.
And
That.
actually, by the time this airs, I will have had another smile because we're having our team dinner here on
Oh,
Thursday night, and I'm sure that will be a smiley time
I
too.
know. That's always good. Um, my smile of the week, I kind of have two, but my main one was I went to date night at the Met, which is really, I don't know why they call it date night. It's really just the Met stays open late on Friday and Saturday. So my friend Emma and I did that, and then we went for a drink after, and that was just very fun. It's very fun to go when it's open late because there's just like there's no school groups. There are less children and it's just kind of like there's less people and it's a good time to like go to the Met, look at art, but we were like chit-chatting more, if that makes
Is it
sense.
every Friday and Saturday?
Almost. It's
Okay,
not every Friday,
fun.
but there's a lot of them. And they have like special um programming and stuff through some of them. So like I know like Valentine's Day weekend they had like some extra stuff they were doing and then like I think this weekend they had um not an orchestra but like some like a quartet or something
Yeah,
kind of
music, a combo.
yeah, a combo, very nice. So yeah, they do I think they do like you can get some of their cafe or restaurant places are open and you can get like buy one drink, get a second free kind of thing. So it's just like I think it's a great idea though for a
Mm.
museum. And it's great for us because since we're New York residents, we pay what we want to go. So
Oh, nice.
but yeah, it's just an admission to the museum kind of normal.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't really know, like, they advertise it especially, but it's just the museum just stays open late. Anyways, I've also been chatting to friends on the phone a lot more lately, which has been really nice because I feel like um sometimes with texting it's hard because you're like you want to catch up, but it's like how do we catch up over text? So that's just been something in general that I've liked doing where it's like I have 15 minutes here that I'm like walking from one place. I'll call this person, and if they don't answer, that's fine, but if they do, that's fun.
nice.
So yeah, those are my two smiles of the week.
Excellent.
Thank you again very much for getting through this episode. I know it's been a lot, and I really appreciate it. If you would like to commiserate or talk about something else with us, you can email us at girldadpcast@gmail.com. Um, I think next week, do we have a guest? Maybe? Am I making that
I
up?
I don't know. I don't think so,
Okay, I'm
but
making that up.
maybe.
Never mind, I lied to all of you. But if
Okay.
you would like to be a guest, you can also email us, girl.pcast@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you guys. Thank you again for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Bye, Dad.
Bye, girl. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed the episode, follow us on your favorite podcast platforms, rate us, and leave a review.